So today we're going to create a lesson plan. And we've already done that. Remember we did, a couple weeks ago, we did one with CK. And then I presented that lesson to we had a student in here. So today we are going to use our word list. And we are going to make a lesson plan, and then I'll present it to another student. And since we did CK last time, we're going to do DGE this time. So you all have your lesson plans in front of you, your blank lesson plans in front of you. And then, as we talked about before, if you have a student that needs handwriting, then this, the very top part is for that kid. But we, for our purposes, are not going to talk about that today. Okay, for the visual drill on your lesson plan, we are going to use all of the sounds up through and including CK. So we're going to put, for sounds, we're going to put deck to CK. Now you remember that the way we use our deck, we've already talked about this, but just for demonstration purposes, you're going to find a way to hold on to the deck or put the deck on the table that stabilizes it so everybody can see and it's not roaming around the room, so you're not like this. I mean, you may have to show it like this, but then eventually hold it, and then you point to the card sound, and you expect the student to say the sound, and then you say rule, and you would expect the student to say the rule. Okay, and then you would go through all of the cards that way, which we have already done this morning. So I'm not going to take the time to do that now. Notice that the correction there is, if they have a problem, you're going to ask them to trace it. Then you're going to ask for the keyword. And again, remember we talked about how the keyword is actually the most important part of corrections. And if they don't know that, then you're going to show the keyword and ask them to isolate the sound. Once they've isolated the sound, then they would trace it 3 times and say the sound at the same time. All right, so let's pretend that we've gone through the deck, as we already have this morning. And did I just steal your rubber band? Mm-mm. Okay, good.
I get it.
All right, okay. So now we're going to pick words to read. And do you remember that we talked about we're going to pick words to read from our word list, starting with a CK and going backwards. So anything from CK, floss, NK, NG, all of the H brothers, and all of the short vowels are fair. So we're going to try to, this being review, we're going to try to get as many of the CKs that we can get in. We want several of those because that's the last thing we taught. And then the floss rule was the thing that we taught before that. So we're going to get several of those in, and then we can put other things in. Okay? All right, here we go. So remember, as we read, we want to have the more difficult words, or those words with blends. So I'm going to put the words up here. We want about 15 to 20 words. Can somebody help me with a word?
Rock.
I'm sorry?
Rock.
Rock.
Now, if it's reviewed, do we want from the bottom of the list where they're harder, or not necessarily?
Yeah, I think if we're reading, we want the harder words. Good question.
Flick.
Flick. Good blend. And my maiden name.
Smack.
Ooh, good one. Smack.
How come you're staggering?
I'm staggering them because I don't want all the CKs here, and then, that's an excellent question. And then all of the floss is here, and then I want them all mixed up. So, like when we read, the words are all mixed up. So that's a good question. Thank you for doing that.
It's not
Let's get at least one more CK word.
Track,
Track.
although that's another A, shouldn't we try and have an E?
Okay.
Thinking. So deck,
Good one. Deck. Okay, let's move to, we can always fill in more later, but let's try to get some other words. So floss. Moving backwards. Let's get some floss rules and or floss words, I'm sorry, and get some words that have blends in them.
Snuff.
Okay. Snuff.
grill,
Grill.
grass,
Grass. Okay, we have S, S, L, L, F, F. We have I, U, and A. Good job.
puff. We don't
Any
have a
with an
U.
E?
We have a U though.
How about spell? Okay. Yeah, did you have one, Laura?
I was just gonna ask a question.
What?
Is this a procedure that you go through with your class, your student, your class, when they're right there? Or do you already have this prepared?
Excellent question. You already have this prepared. So this is something that you either have on a whiteboard or you have it on a piece of paper that you can give each student. If it's a whole class, obviously it's going to be better on a whiteboard or a chalkboard. Does anybody have chalkboards anymore? Do you, Brittany? Oh, you do too? Okay.
Mhm.
So, you know, you could have it, but it would save time, obviously, if it's already up and ready for the kids when they come in. We're just doing this for purposes of writing the lesson plan today. Okay, so we have two L's, we have an F, we have an S. If you want a Z, we can put a Z in. Or we can move on to, let's move to the H brothers.
bench,
Bench. Okay.
branch,
Ranch.
branch,
Ranch.
maybe that's too much like bench, I mean, it's a different vowel.
It is a
Same
different.
beginning though.
Well, let's keep these, and then if we need that space, we'll erase it and come back. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna leave branch and take out bench,
Okay.
because this has more going on, so I kinda like that.
We don't have many E's, so theft,
That's a hard one.
too hard?
No. Theft, and the reason this is hard is it has how many sounds? Excuse me, it has 4 sounds, which is kind of tough for our kids sometimes to separate those things out or to be able to blend them. No, I like that up there. Okay, so we have a CH, we have a TH, we need an SH. How about shrub? And a WH, there's not many of those, are there? Should we do wish? It is kind of tricky, and so I probably really wouldn't use wish. How about if we use whisk?
That's my next choice.
Okay, good. That was a Good choice. Isk. And I also like it because it has a K at the end. You know, and so there's that juxtaposition of the CK and the K. I kind of like that. Okay, so I know that we have 12 words, probably need 15 to 20. And so when our student comes in, the way we're going to present this is that we're going to have, or if you have a small group, I will have, when Aiden comes in, I will have him read all of these. And then I will ask him questions about these, like find the word that your daddy probably uses in the summertime to cook hamburgers. Put a circle around that word, and you would hope that he would circle the word grill. Find a word that you play on in the summertime. Something that is outside on the ground and you play on it in the summertime, and hopefully you would find the word grass. And I would ask him, put a star on both sides, or some way that you are getting him to think outside the box. Everything involves outside. A subject that you do in school, something that you do in school that so you put a box around that word, and you would hope that he would put a box around the word spell. Something that you're not supposed to throw, put a triangle over it. Rock. So you would use those kinds of extensions. You can also say, if you're working on grammar, you could say, put 2 lines under each word that is a noun. So, and what's a noun? It's a person, a place, or a thing. So hopefully he could go through and he would double underline rock. He would double underline shrub. That might have to be explained. Grill, branch, grass, and a deck. So you could do those kinds of things too. Working on grammar and parts of speech. Okay, so this then becomes on your lesson plan the words to read. And this being part of the visual drill, this is review, remember. We're reviewing these words. These are all things, and all of these words have rules, letters, and sounds that he already knows.
So is this a 15-minute, 10-minute, what, is there a guide about how much time to spend? Or it's really directed by the child?
It's kind of directed by the child, but you want to keep it moving, because if it bogs down, you're going to lose the kids. So I would do, for the entire visual drill, I would try to keep it to, for his size deck, probably 10 minutes. The extensions could make it longer. Because what we're headed for is 45 minutes to an hour. Because I know in the classroom situation, you don't always have an hour. So, as much time as you can weasel out of them, it would be a good thing, but, okay. If they have trouble saying these words, the correction is, remember we talked about blended, we talked about structured blending. So let's say he says thick. Well then, we would go, you would, to correct him, say, what is this sound? Good. What is this sound? Full. Good. Put them together. Full. What is this sound? Eh. Good. Put them together. Fli. What is this sound? K. Good. Put them together. Flick. So it's a structured blending of the words. Okay. If there's a letter confusion, then you would ask them to trace. Again, we would use the keyword. If he doesn't know or she doesn't know the keyword, then you would give them the keyword. And in a small group or a whole classroom, you might want to just go ahead and give it. I mean, if somebody's raising their hand and they know the keyword, then you call on them. Alrighty, so this is the visual drill. Are you finding it easier this time than last time? Are you finding it easier to find the words?
Yes.
Good, that's what I wanted. That's why we're doing it twice. Okay, I'm probably gonna have to use somebody's, when Aiden comes in, I'm gonna have to use somebody's lesson plan because I'm about to erase this. Does everybody have these words on their lesson plan? Do you, Laura, have one?
Uh-huh.
Okay, because I'm probably gonna use your lesson plan.
Okay.
Alrighty, now we're gonna move on to the auditory drill. And the first thing that we're gonna select here are the sounds that we're gonna use in our auditory drill. We're still gonna use our scope and sequence, which is this word list also. So we can't use anything that is beyond CK for today, because they don't know it. So, or the individual student doesn't know it, or the small group people, or the large group people, at least most of them, because you haven't taught it yet. So we're gonna assume that. So we're gonna work, again, from CK back. Remember, we're gonna make words out of these. We're gonna use these sounds to make our spelling words down here. So we're gonna have to use the short vowels, otherwise we won't have any, yeah. So let's pick some sounds that we want to have our students say. Okay, so I would go for CK because that's the last thing that I taught. Okay. What might be another good sound? Okay. Let's get some short vowels. I'm going to put a short E because in Indiana that's a problem. We don't say our short E's very well. So I have CK, S, E.
But is that too confusing with the E and the I?
You know what? I just put it down here. I wouldn't put it next to it.
Okay.
We probably want all of the short vowels, don't we?
I would agree.
Excuse me. Doesn't mean we have to use all of them, but in order to make our words, we need to have as much available up in the sounds that we can. Okay? So, we've got the H brothers, right? So, I'm going to put SH up here. A T would be good. T's make a good, first of all, it's a good sound, and we can use it in a lot of words. A lot of our kids have trouble with the Y sound, the Y sound. So I'm going to put that up here too.
We haven't done a floss.
Floss, so what do we do? LL?
And A, because we need a vowel.
All these vowels are short. Let's do a CH.
O.
Short O. Let's put a B up here. That way we can check their B checkers, see if they know B's and D's.
CH.
We have CH.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How about TH? Now, I mean, looking up here and making sure that you have,
We don't have a
there are
U.
words we can use, yeah, okay, and how about a short U? Is that what you just said,
Uh-huh.
Shirley? Okay. Let's get about 4 more. So I think we have all of the vowels. We have short E, short I, short A, short O, short U, yep. How about an F. And over here, I'm gonna put an S.
A J,
A J,
if we're gonna try and judge, thinking of the words that we're gonna make.
okay, but we don't have a DGE yet because we haven't taught it yet.
Oh, that's right, so it's gotta go back.
And a J limits us.
Okay.
So let's do,
G,
G might be good, and then the other thing I think I'm gonna put up here is a D. Let's see what we can do with this. Okay. So, these are the sounds that we're going to use. When we do,
so these are the cards you're pulling out to use for the lesson, is that correct?
no,
No.
that's an excellent question, no. In an auditory drill, it's all sound. So they're never gonna be seeing anything.
Oh, okay.
They will not see this. It's on your lesson plan.
Okay.
So visual drill is literally visual, so you have to have things for them to see and say. I'm glad you brought that up. The auditory drill is what they're going to hear and write. So everything in an auditory drill is for you to see and for them to write, to say and write. So you don't really, I mean, you could pull cards, but you've got them here, so you don't need them. You don't need the cards. So when you do the auditory drill, you are going to say, watch, I always say, watch my mouth. And then I say, k. The student says, okay, and then the student writes and says it on their student response sheet. So we hear that 3 times. You hear me say it, k. I hear you say it, k. And I hear the student go, k, 3 times. So that's the presentation of the auditory drill. We've talked about that and we've practiced it. So that's what you would do. Now if they mess it up, you're watching and they mess it up, you ask for the keyword, ask them to say the keyword, and then ask them to isolate that sound, and then ask for the letter name, and then trace and write the letter name. So, for instance, if they put down k, and I would say, when I'm giving k, CK, I would say k, you would say k, I would say k, as in duck. Because if you say k, they won't know what to write. They won't know whether to write the C, as in cat, the K, as in kite, or the k, as in duck. So you have to, anytime there's a rule involved, like with a floss, you would have to say what the sound is. I'm sorry, what the keyword is. So let's practice that one again. So, you are my students and I'm saying to you, number 1, I want you to write k, as in duck. Say the sound. As in what? Good job. Write the sound. And you would expect your students to write on a piece with pencil -CK. And while they're saying it, they're also writing it. So anytime they write, their pencil's moving, their mouth should be moving. And then you would go through all of these. The second one would be S, and you say S, and then you write and say S. And as you train your students, they would know not to write this because you didn't say floss. If somebody says, which one, S, then what would you do? If I say S and you say S, and then they start to write and go, which one? You would say snake. You would say S as in snake. Again, the keyword becomes the correction. Excellent. Brittany, you get a star. Woo-hoo! Okay, and we'll travel on through here until we get to the LL. So let's assume that we've gone through all of these. We get to the LL and I say, watch my mouth, O. O as in floss. What is the sound?
Ooh.
Write and say. And then your student would write -LL. So anytime that there is a rule involved, you would have to give the keyword. If they get confused, you give the keyword. Alrighty. Now, so that is how we get our sounds. So you get your sounds from everything that you've taught, working backwards from the word list. Now, our words to spell here at the end of the first page of your lesson plan, our words to spell are going to be taken from this, which makes it kind of easier because you have taken the time to get these sounds and made sure that they are only things that you've already taught. So now let's see what we can do about getting words. And again, we would want some, like 15, let's say, 12 to 15. Again, you know how much time you have and you know who your students are and how much they need or don't need. And so adjust that accordingly. Because if you've only got 40 minutes, then you're not going to get through 20 words. Okay, Michelle, I see this. So
Oh, no, I was
you're okay?
thinking of a word.
Okay, well, let's do that. Okay, so let's do, the first one I saw was sh-e-ol, shell. So you saw how I kind of picked that out. Any others?
Back,
Say again?
back.
Back.
Chug.
Good one. Chug.
Tell,
Tell.
Done an I. I go by the vowels. Is that so you can get them all included? So they're not.
I like to have them all included, and I especially like to include the vowels that the kids are having trouble with. More than likely, the ones they're going to have trouble with are the E and then the I. Unless you have an ELL student, like Laura does, who are going to have trouble with the E's and the A's. But, so I try to get a lot of those in.
So dig, we haven't done an I.
Okay. And remember, the spelling words are a little bit, if you can, a little bit simpler than the reading words. How about shut?
We haven't done an O. Boss. Or is that too tricky? Not so good.
Changes the vowel. Yeah, how about, though I like the O, I just thought I would.
Shot. But we've already
Okay.
got SH.
Yeah, we,
dot, D-O-T.
okay.
Dog.
Oh,
Can I change?
dog.
can I
That's
ch-
good. Yeah.
I'm gonna change it to doc. An O in front of a G changes it to aw. Dog, so it's not a true short vowel. So we wanna stay away from putting O's in front. Wog, dog, fog, it changes it. Okay,
We haven't done a Y.
okay. We have,
Yell.
what?
Yell. But we've already got two E.
We can do yet,
Yet.
yet. Okay, we have O's, we have E's, we have U's. We have one I.
Bath.
What?
Bath.
Bath.
should we be concerned if these are on the lists? No, okay.
Good question, though. So, I think, Ron, what Ron did, the miracle of his word list is that we don't have to think of them all. We don't have to sit down every time we write a lesson plan and think of those words. But I think we can think outside the box too, just